Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 10, Text 5, Translation and Commentary by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Tat Vilokya Abja Sambhutaha Vayuna Yat Adhishtitaha Padmam Ambaha Cha Tat Kala Krita Viryena Kampitam Tadvilokyabja Sambhuto Vayuna Yad Adhishtitaha Padmam Ambhascha Tatkala Krita Viryena Kampitam. See the book? Glasses, you need glasses, huh? Can't, okay. Someone else try that. Ladies, please. Ladies. Anyone? No? Okay. Tat Vilokya, looking into that. Abja Sambhutaha, whose source of birth was a lotus. Vayuna, by the air. Yat, that. Adhishtitaha, on which he was situated. Padmam, lotus. Ambhaha, water. Cha, also. Tat, kala, krita, which was effected by eternal time. Viryena, by its inherent force. Kampitam, trembling. Thereafter, Brahma saw that both the lotus on which he was situated and the water on which the lotus was growing were trembling due to a strong, violent wind. Purport. The material world is called illusory because it is a place of forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. Thus, one engaged in the Lord's devotional service in the material world may sometimes be very much disturbed by awkward circumstances. There is a declaration of war between the two parties, the illusory energy and the devotee, and sometimes the weak devotees fall victim to the onslaught of the powerful illusory energy. Lord Brahma, however, was sufficiently strong by the causeless mercy of the Lord, and he could not be victimized by the material energy, although it gave him cause for anxiety when it managed to totter the existence of his position. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shreshtam Manumapi Shachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasya Gajamuruparim Maturim Goshtavartim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yataf Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutang Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tina Smarane Hoy Vigna Vinashan Anayashe Hoy Nijavanchita Pura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If we're in a high place, we can always fear falling. Many people are afraid of flying in planes. Maybe all of us who did, presuming everyone's flown in a plane at some point. In the generation I grew up in, a lot of people had never flown in a plane. What about you? Maybe if you're from America, we were always a bit behind. You're from Canada. We'd never admitted in Britain that we were always a bit behind America, but we didn't fly much. So the first flight, is very dangerous. What happens? What happens if you fall down from the plane? Then you make it to the newspaper at last. You get reported in the news. Brahma is sitting atop the lotus which springs from the navel of Vishnu, and a strong, violent wind is making the lotus blow, and he's afraid of falling down. And Srila Prabhupada, in his purport, brings up the topic of fall down from spiritual life. In both cases, either physical fall down, if you happen to be, just saying this theoretically because I know none of you would get drunk, but if you happen to be drunk at the edge of a cliff, you fall down, quite likely. So that's the physical act of the material energy. And there's also the subtle psychic effect, which can cause us to fall down from spiritual life. So maybe we're all expecting a very encouraging talk. Fired up, let's go back to Godhead. Yeah, let's go. But we should also discuss, sometimes at least, the things which may not be so much encouraging. Actually, everything in Krishna consciousness is encouraging because it's full of hope. We're on the way out of this material entanglement, on the way to Krishna. But we should also be very careful. In one lecture, Srila Prabhupada was talking about Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken famously on a battlefield. Krishna spoke to Arjuna. Prior to that, he spoke to the sun god. Bhagavad Gita is not always spoken on a battlefield. One time in London, one devotee, Krishna Vesha, Mataji, at the end of a class, asked Srila Prabhupada, that is Bhagavad Gita spoken in hell? And Srila Prabhupada said, I'm here, I'm speaking Bhagavad Gita. London is hell. So it might seem discouraging to discuss this, but I wanted to say, that's the point I was making. That Srila Prabhupada once he was speaking on Bhagavad Gita, and he said that before you go into fighting, one thing you don't just assess the strength of your own troops, but you have to assess the strength of the enemy troops also. And what are their strengths and weaknesses? That's what happens at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Well, first of all, we have Duryodhana speaking about the forces on both sides, and then Arjuna asks Krishna to take the chariot so he can see both the armies. So what are the strengths, what's the way forward, and what's the dangers? Because dangers are there. As Srila Prabhupada writes in a Gita purport, there can be accidents even on the royal roads. Maybe all arrangements made to stop accidents, but still there are accidents. However much we try to make some arrangement that there won't be accidents on the roads, or there won't be plane crashes, there will be, somehow or other. Systems are there to prevent plane crashes. The whole plane should be checked every time before it goes in there. Is that right? Yeah, every single time. Everything has to be checked. But still, someone may be neglectful, or unexpected. You may make a weather forecast and think, well, it's not going to be so bad, and it is, but it's worse than you think, or whatever. Maybe those of you who have flown quite a lot, you've been in a, well, especially, maybe not, where you get tornadoes and hurricanes around here, so maybe you've been in a flight which is going, and everyone's afraid. So it does happen. It's maybe not most encouraging topic, but we also need to know about fall down. It happens. We've seen it, we've heard about it, we've experienced it because there's a major fall down, but we all fall down. In as much as we're all chanting Hare Krishna, and we may feel elated, happy in Krishna conscious, nice kirtan, but then our mind may go to something else. So we experience, there are what we call minor fall downs all the time. The mind is going up and down, and there's gross fall down also. Not everyone makes it all the way in this lifetime. Of course, once we start on the path, then we're going basically in the right direction. But we shouldn't think that, well, okay, that's enough for now. As I mentioned, one of my godbrothers, he's from New York City, but we were in Bangladesh around 1980, 1979. And then he says, I think I've had enough Krishna consciousness for this lifetime. Went back to America, never seen or heard of him since. You probably didn't know him. Nadia, did you know? No. He was in India from a young age. He was in Mayapur, then he came to Bangladesh. I think I've done enough Krishna consciousness for one lifetime. And we may not make it in one lifetime. There may be devotees like Dharmatma Prabhu, who's been practicing Krishna consciousness for decades, and now is in old age, and he's a lifer. That's what they call a lifer. So you heard that term? We used to use that. Someone who stays in it for life. But it's still not guaranteed that someone who practices all their life without having any gross fall down is going to make it back to Godhead in this lifetime. And that's one reason why we're here, because presumably we've all practiced Krishna consciousness in a previous lifetime, because anyone who takes it up seriously means they have a touch from a previous life. Tatratam buddhi samyogam. What's the next line? I forgot it too. Do you know it? Labhate paurvadehikam. Yeah, the fallen yogi, or the one who didn't make it back to Godhead, he picks up, he remembers. He may not remember the details of his previous life, but he becomes attracted to that life. And we see we're distributing books, we're doing Harinam. A lot of people are not interested, or they may be curious, but a few people come forward. That means they take it seriously. That means they had a touch of Krishna consciousness in their previous life. But they didn't make it. And that's why they're here, to try and go further. So we should try to go back to Godhead in this very life. Turnam yatetanapata danumrityayava nishrayasaya. Knowing that this life is short, we've had many, many births, we now have the opportunity to be Krishna conscious. We should immediately act in such a way for our topmost benefit before we die, which is going to happen soon. You're all going to die soon. It's not a curse, it's just a statement of fact. Even if you live to be 120, it's still soon. It's not very long. So we're going up, we have the opportunity, but as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, here it's like a war. We're fighting a war against Maya. We're all prisoners, and we're trying to get out of Maya's clutches. We don't think that we're prisoners. America is the land of the free, right? But everyone is enslaved by their senses. They may not like the government. The government puts this restriction, that restriction. So many people during the COVID time, that wasn't in this state because they didn't put COVID restrictions. Any COVID restrictions? Hardly. But in many states there were COVID restrictions. You're a prisoner in your apartment, and if you go out you have to put a mask. And many people don't like the government restrictions. They want to rebel against it and get out from the government restrictions. But we don't see Maya restricting us, but she is. She's restricting our pure consciousness by tying us up with the desires for material enjoyment. We're all tied up in this material world by desires for material enjoyment. So when we try to get out from that, then Maya strikes back. Avaranatmika, her covering, by the covering potency, we don't even know that we're in Maya. Yaya samohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam. We're covered by Maya, and we don't even know. But then when we try to get out, prakshepatmika, kick you back, throw you back. Srila Prabhupada, he once said of his disciples that you're not afraid of Maya. That's your problem. You should be more afraid. Krishna consciousness means fearlessness, but we should be afraid of falling down. We should be afraid of the material energy. Srila Prabhupada once said to a group of disciples, "You can all fall down, but I cannot fall down." And then once he was before Radha Landanishwara praying, and a disciple had the audacity to ask, "What were you praying, Srila Prabhupada?" And Prabhupada said, "I was praying that I never fall down." And devotee asked, "Well, you said you can never fall down." And Prabhupada said, "Because I'm always praying that I can never fall down, therefore I can never fall down." So I heard. Heard it from more than one source. So Maya is powerful. We should not underestimate the power of Maya. Well, we do, because practically we can't measure it, just like we can only underestimate the power of Krishna, because it's not within our ability to fully understand how great Krishna is. But at least we accept that Krishna is unlimitedly powerful, and Maya is also within her jurisdiction. She has unlimited power to keep so many jivas in illusion. One example is given of Indra, who was cursed to become a pig, and then having got the position of a pig, he didn't want to give it up. He thought it's very nice. You get nice fresh breakfast every morning. You don't see. Those who live in the villages in India, you can see pig's breakfast. You provide it for them. You go out in the field, and your yesterday's breakfast becomes their morning breakfast. Hot, fresh, organic, and very tasty. They seem to like it. Have you seen, who's seen that? I remember once in Vrindavan, this must have been 1976, first time I was in Vrindavan, going for parikrama in the early morning, and then just some boy comes out on the veranda of his house on the first floor and puts his backside between the railings, pulls down his shorts, and there's a pig waiting because it's his breakfast time. And the pig is wagging his tail, and he's very happy, and he falls on his face. Vrindavan also, open drains, stinking with stool, in the hot, the heat, and maybe you've all seen that. The pigs are sitting in the drain. Ah, what bliss. This is the power of Maya. That's just one instance, but there are unlimited, Eta Brahmanda Bharyananta Jivagan, where the universe is full of unlimited living beings, and they're all under the power of Maya, by which someone who's supposed to be Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge, that's our constitutional spiritual position. But instead, they like to be a pig. Or even in the human form of life, if you tell someone, come, chant with us, be happy, chant Hare Krishna, lead a pure life, and they'd rather not. They may think it's a horrible life. They may not like it at all. So, fall down comes when we're not careful. Another example given, Ksharasya Dhara, the blade, very sharp. Be careful. Can cut. Now you have these razors with 5 blades, and you hardly cut. But We used to use another kind. I still use that. It's very easy to cut. You have to be very careful. Even in Krishna consciousness, it's a very powerful process. But if we the energy that we get from that, if we slightly misuse it, then we're going to get cut. So we should know, be aware, be careful. Brahma was sufficiently strong by the causeless mercy of the Lord that he could not be victimized by the material energy. Now we have to be strong. And we can be strong in Krishna consciousness when we know and we always accept that we're weak and we're depending on the mercy of Krishna, Guru, devotees. When we accept that we're helpless, then we get all help. And as soon as we think, I'm doing it on my own strength, we're immediately vulnerable. That in itself is Maya. It's discussed in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asked, well, what happens to a yogi? He gives up his material prospects, takes up his spiritual prospects, and what if he doesn't make it in spiritual life? Then he neither got this side or that side. He neither got material progress, nor did he get spiritual perfection. And that's where that comes up, because labate purvadehika. Because Krishna tells us, what is that? Naive hanamutra, partha naive hanamutra, vinashas tasya vidyate, nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgating tata gacchati. He said, don't worry, anyone who's on the right path, then they won't come to distress. They may temporarily have some setback, but they won't get a bad destination. And then again, Shuchinang Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashta Bhajayate. Then after going to the heavenly worlds, he comes back and gets a position where which is favorable for him to again cultivate spiritual life. And then again, his consciousness is revived, and he can go on. So fall down means when we take to Krishna consciousness, we take to spiritual life, and then we don't keep it up. We come to the point of taking it very seriously, but at some point, for some reason, we become lax, or we may just leave it altogether. There are different kinds. We see devotees are practicing very seriously. Then after some, they may not go away altogether, but they may just say, well, nothing really that wrong with a little beer now and then. I was told, I can't remember who told me that, it's very common among initiated devotees in America to smoke marijuana now and then. I don't know if you have that experience. You do. And I was told in France, a devotee in France told me that France, drinking wine is part of the culture. They don't get, it's not like Britain or America where people get drunk, but they just drink a little with every meal. You don't see them getting intoxicated much. So many devotees, they also drink a little wine. That's a fall down. It's not a gross fall down in the sense, well, it is a gross fall down, but it's not grossly, they're going away from Krishna consciousness. They'll still have an altar in their home, maybe, and Prabhupada's books, and they may have their beads there somewhere. I remember one devotee told me, he wanted to go away from Krishna consciousness. He just said, I had enough of all it. But he still kept his beads that Prabhupada gave him. And then after some time, after a few years, Krishna arranged for him to have so much distress that he thought about his beads again. Krishna is very kind. Fall down, what does it mean? At various levels. We stop chanting 16 rounds a day. Even if we go to less, that's a fall down. In most cases, because you've made a vow to do it. If someone is very sick, they can hardly talk, then that's not a fall down per se. Or the 4 rules: no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating. There may be some provision for breaking this. There may be. Unusually. If there's nothing to eat, we're not in that situation. If there's nothing to eat, it may be acceptable to eat some meat to stay alive. We're not in that situation. In the 1970s, there was a plane crash in the Andes, and several people were killed and several people weren't killed. And they were just stranded for quite some time, and there was a discussion among them, because what is there to eat? You're on the side of a mountain. And the only thing is the dead human bodies. So there was a discussion, and then I think 1 or 2 didn't eat, and then they starved, and then the others were eating that. And then when they were eventually rescued, it came up as a big question: is it acceptable to eat it? I don't know, how would it be pretty hard to eat it? I mean, even physically, it'd be pretty rough and pretty raw. But anyway, they stayed alive by eating the bodies, which weren't decomposing much because it was very cold, and it became big. People. Then, when the news came out, people were horrified. How could they do that? And Srila Prabhupada was asked, and he said, "Yeah, in that situation, to stay alive, if there's nothing else to eat, what to do?" We have in Mahabharata, there's a situation where one rishi fed his disciples cow meat, because it was a famine, there's nothing else to eat. So there may be situations where the 4 principles can be broken, and it's not considered a fall down, but that's very rare. That's not the norm. To just go away from Krishna consciousness altogether, there's an ISKCON word, bloop, that came up in one talk Srila Prabhupada gave. He said, it's just like if a stone drops into water. What is that sound? And someone said, bloop. Yes. So he said, falling down. It's like blooping. So that's ISKCON terminology. We have our own in-house talk. So to bloop means to go away from Krishna consciousness altogether. So we've all blooped. We're all bloopers from the spiritual world. Krishna bully, what do? When you leave, you want to forget Krishna, right? So that's how we came to this material world. Krishna bhuli se jivanadi bahimuk ataiv maya tari deo sangsarduk. We forget Krishna, we don't want to serve Krishna, therefore Maya gives us misery. And that's the illusion, that we think we can be more happy not in Krishna consciousness than in Krishna consciousness. And then we bloop, and then we suffer. We come to Krishna consciousness, one factor is, for most of us, is that we were suffering. Not you. You were born into it this time round, right? Janardhan Krishna, so what is he? Born into it. One of those yogis got born into it. But most of us, we came to Krishna consciousness at a time when we were going through suffering. We're always going through suffering, but we were very conscious of that. We felt that we couldn't work it all out by ourselves, and we came to Krishna consciousness. But it can happen that they get relief from the suffering of material life by coming to Krishna consciousness. And then they start to look back and say, well, maybe it wasn't so bad after all. Maybe I was just going through a bad period. I can try again. I don't know exactly what happens in the mind, but somehow or other, Maya seems to become attractive. And spiritual life means discipline. We may not like it that we have to follow so many rules. Shamasundar, our Godbrother, the astrologer, he saw someone's chart and he said, well, looks like they're going to be in prison. Or maybe they'll join an ashram. Because it's very similar. You have to stay on the premise, you're not allowed out, or if you're allowed out, it's only with a tag. And there are rules to follow, you're under discipline, you can't eat whatever you like, you can't go to cinema, and so many things. So it's very similar. So you may think, too much. I'll just go away. Escape. But then again, Maya tare deya sangsara duk. Then again, we have to suffer. We should always endeavor to go forward. Complacency. Why do devotees revert to non-devotional life? You may become complacent and think that, well, just go on with the routine. And anyway, I'm going back to Godhead. We always have to strive to go forward and up. Maya's always there. Maya doesn't take a holiday. She's there, 24-hour surveillance. You're always being watched. Big Mother is watching you. Always, always, always. And she's in our mind also, influencing it and seeing it. So we should always endeavor to go forward. And at the same time be aware that at any time we can slip and go backward. So we should think, what are the causes of fall down? And how can we keep from falling and try to help others from falling? Complacency, bad association. We have good association that will help us. if we associate with those who, they may be devotees but not very good association. They may say that, well, we're all devotees here, so... What's that about marijuana? Yeah, we all smoke. We get together once a week, and we chant also. So what's the harm? They may say, I don't know, but I can imagine they could say something like that. And he may say, yeah, well, they do chant, and they play mridanga quite nicely, actually, and seem to enjoy the kirtan. And many sadhus smoke marijuana, right? That's how it was discovered in the West, it seems. In the hippie generation, or before that, the beatniks, they went to India, saw the sadhus smoking ganja, and picked it up and brought it back. I don't know. That's one theory. Vaishnavas don't smoke. Maybe some Ramanandis, but mostly it's Shaiva sadhus who do that, under some illusion that Lord Shiva smokes ganja. I don't know where that idea comes from, I don't know, but they seem to think that. So it may be there may be various ways and various reasons. Offenses are very dangerous. There are so many offenses. Offenses in deity worship, offenses to devotees, offenses in the holy dham. That we have to be very careful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially warns. We're every morning reciting 10 offenses to the holy name. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially warns against offenses to devotees. He gives the analogy that cultivating Krishna consciousness is like cultivating a nice garden, beautiful garden with many flowers, very nicely laid out, very beautiful garden. But then if a mad elephant gets in the garden, then within a short time he'll just completely destroy everything by running around, uprooting everything. So offenses to Vaishnavas are like a mad elephant, which just very quickly can destroy everything we've carefully cultivated. It takes time to make a beautiful garden. You can't order from Amazon a beautiful garden. You have to, or you can hire someone to design it and work on it, but it takes time. So with effort and patience, we can take to Krishna consciousness and come up in Krishna consciousness, but very quickly it can be very seriously set back. We're never fully finished, it's never completely destroyed. But by offending Vaishnavas, we become quickly bereft of Krishna consciousness. This discussion can be paradoxical because at the same time we have to see that there is a difference between properly practicing Krishna consciousness and not. Just like, for instance, if I was to say, don't associate with them, they're smoking ganja. Oh, well, we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're Vaishnavas, don't make offenses to Vaishnavas. But it would be the duty of the senior devotees and the gurus, or even there may be a young devotee. It's not a difficult thing to understand that you shouldn't associate with those who are chanting Hare Krishna and smoking ganja. But if you say that, then someone say, well, see, you're offending someone, they're Vaishnavas. So that's a very gross example, but it may be more subtle also, and that's another kind of fall down. Gross fall down is very obvious, but philosophical deviation may not be so easy to see or understand. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was much blamed by so many Vaishnavas who he blamed. How can you blame them? But actually most of them who had philosophical deviation also had some gross deviation also. They go together. If not immediately, after some time. But it was unheard of in the Vaishnava world that you would criticize others and say this is wrong. And especially the gurus who were the traditional gurus, many of them ate fish, and that was considered somehow or other okay. They'd also chant Hare Krishna. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would point that out, and they would say, well, you're offending. So it's a fine line between discriminating with the eye of Shastra. In the beginning of Bhagavatam, we are enjoined to take the message from Bhagavatam to distinguish reality from illusion. So that is required, but at the same time, not to be offensive. And this can be a very fine line. One thing is that someone is deviating, but you criticize in a spirit of envy toward them, or to try to show yourself better than others. Or one may become preoccupied with simply blaming others. So that's one danger. Another danger is to ascribe faults where they're not there at all. So that's a very big topic. We should be very careful not to make offenses. At the same time, we shouldn't be so sentimental that when some devotees or appear to be devotees are doing something which is wrong, and we shouldn't think, well, it's all okay. And we can advise others. If you don't advise someone who's inexperienced, newly coming to Krishna consciousness, that well, you better not go too close to them. If you don't advise them, then they'll be more likely to do so. Just like if you say to someone who's coming newly that or someone may say that, well, yeah, see, I've been practicing Krishna consciousness for 30 years, and I don't rise early in the morning, I don't chant 16 rounds, and you don't have to do that. Now, I would advise a newcomer, don't associate with that person, because you want to go higher than that, you want to do better than that. But then someone may say, well, that's offensive, he's a devotee. Yeah, he's a devotee, but he's not a serious devotee. And you may say, and again it comes, how do you know who's serious? You don't know what's in my heart. Actually, you can tell what's in the heart to some extent, because what's in the heart becomes reflected in the actions. That's why sometimes it's good to make your own little sangha, because when the broader sangha is full of so many strange ideas and everything is okay, then if you want to help people to come in and come up, then we have to make a clear differentiation between how we want to bring people in and guide them and train them, and the whole smorgasbord of what's out there. You can take your pick. The idea that you can get the same result by not following the process is very dangerous. That's called sahajaism. That you don't follow four regulated principles strictly. You don't follow sadhana. And still you're going to get Krishna prema. In fact, all you people following rules, you don't have prema, you're just interested in rules. We don't follow the rules, but we really feel it in our heart. You heard that one before? So many times. Very dangerous. So we have to point these things out. At the same time, we have to be careful not to make offenses. But this not making offenses is used by those who don't want to follow properly as a tool to shoot back at you when you want to say they're not following properly. So, offenses, very dangerous. Actually, this is a very big topic. What's the time? Okay, have a watch there? There could be lots of questions after this. Maybe we should continue at another time. It's a big, big topic. Is it? No. If I go like this, do I see the time? No, there it is. It fell down. My watch had a fall down. I wasn't watching properly. Unless you're careful, even those things which are very close to you can fall down. Just see, arranged by the material energy. Chant Hare Krishna. No, it's not a smart. You probably program a smartwatch to chant Hare Krishna, or you could design a watch to chant Hare Krishna. So we're supposed to be in the clearing stage. There's nama parada, shuddha nama, and nama bas. We're supposed to be in the clearing stage. Not deliberately making offenses, but at the same time having not developed complete attraction for the pure chanting of the holy name. But if we don't try to rectify our offenses, then the process is going to be very slow, and we may fall down more grossly. It's something like a tightrope. If you're on a tightrope between two poles, then you can cross, but you can also fall. And therefore, there's the varnashram system is there. Not everyone is going to, or it should be there, not everyone is going to go with full intensity all their life. It's accepted. So then situate people in their proper psychophysical position in an atmosphere, in a situation which is favorable for them to practice Krishna consciousness at some level without grossly falling down. So that should be the Varnashram society. But when we are on the tightrope or the razor's edge, we don't want to go slightly this way or slightly this. In tightrope, we have to look at the goal. Just keep on looking and keep on going. You can't stop either. If you stop, it becomes really dangerous. So there is a danger of falling. Sometimes we see someone's practicing very strictly and they go. And so we may not be practicing very strictly. And they maintain that level for many years. So what is better? To practice very strictly, pushing yourself very hard, and then, boom, suddenly fall into gross sinful life. We've seen it. Have we not? How many times? Maybe we don't see it so much nowadays because we don't push devotees to really get into it and really fully surrender. So there isn't that much of really pushing as it used to be. So which is better, to really try hard and fall, or just to take it easy and not really make much progress? Neither of them are very good. But to try hard and seriously, that is required at some point. Otherwise, if we just go along, I say chalte, somehow or other we're going along, then bahu janma kare jari shravan kirtan tabu tanapai Krishna padi premada. Then we're not going to make it. We may have many, many lifetimes of just chalte, just going along somehow or other. So we have to try at some point very seriously. And we're in that situation when we're in more danger because Maya is attacking us more. If we've surrendered to Maya, that okay, I'll chant Hare Krishna, but we didn't forget all our material enjoyment. We'll do both, a little bit of both. Then we're not going anywhere. It may be in Varnashram also, that we're going along somewhat at some pace in Grihastha life, but then toward the end of life, we're supposed to get more intense. Vanaprastha life. Panchas ordvam vanang vrajet. Not done much, is it? We don't see many who are at the age of 50. They cut out, or actually it may not be cut out so much as gradually detach themselves, but very clearly detach themselves from so much family obligations and just concentrate fully on spiritual practices. So that's there in Varnashram system, that we should, as we get older, then there may be some time in life where we're not practicing so, not breaking the principles, but also because of entanglement in family affairs, earning money, our spiritual progress may be not stopped, but not going on full speed. And then Vanaprastha life, okay, now we have to withdraw from all these family obligations, social obligations, and become fully in Krishna consciousness. Of course, in family life you can also go on high speed also. That's possible. But even then, even if you're going at high speed, you want to go high speed, you want to go intensely, but there will be so many other things to distract. It's unavoidable. You may say, well, I want to go to Mangalati every day. In the meantime, the baby wakes up in the middle of the night, is screaming, can't stop screaming. Okay, better take to the hospital and see what's going on. What should you do? Go to Mangalati or leave your baby to die? Maybe. You don't know. You take the baby to the hospital. You can't avoid that. Or you may have to work long hours just to... Modern life is like that. You may have to work very long hours just to get enough money to feed your family and pay the rent and pay the utilities. And you don't have much time for doing sadhana and practicing Krishna consciousness. There's one major reason we want to have these farm communities, so that devotees do have time for chanting. But I'm told in Hungary we have some esteemed visitors from Shivaram Maharaj's project there in Hungary, that even there are many devotees living in the area, but quite a few of them don't come to the temple every day. Some may come once a week or even less. I was told that. So it may be. They're devotees, they have the opportunity, but it's Jo Ganga ke paas rehte, aise log kabhi bhi Ganga snan nahi karte, aisa hote. Those who live close to the Ganga, they never bathe in the Ganga. Because they think, well, Ganga's there. Anyway, tomorrow I'll go. Then someday I'll go. People come from a long way to bathe in the Ganga and they don't. So it may be a case like that. There are so many things. It's a big discussion. But I'll leave it here now. Maybe we'll continue discussing about falling down. Why do we want to discuss about falling down? So that we don't fall down. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyas charkipa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. Oh yeah. You just give them a card.